G'day everybody! Welcome to this very, very special live stream event. I'm so excited to share what we've got coming up with you guys. I've been thinking about it for the last couple of weeks, getting really pumped up to make this announcement, and I'm really glad that you guys are here with me, and it's going to be a real ripper of a time. I think we're all going to have a ton of fun here tonight. So just a few housekeeping things. Keep those comments going in the chat, and let me know if anything happens with the stream. I'm relatively new to this whole streaming thing, doing it live. Most of my stuff is obviously pre-recorded, so I've done some different stuff with my setup to make it so that it works live stream. But if anything goes down, if the audio goes down, if the video goes down or anything like that, let me know in the comments. I will be checking them periodically, and I will endeavor to make sure everything goes smoothly. But with that all being said, let's get stuck straight into it. So I want to do PowerPoint. This button. Here we go. All right, so first, welcome to this 15,000 subscriber live stream. So this is something that a few weeks ago we hit 15,000 subscribers, and I promised you that we would do a live stream to celebrate. So that's in part what this is, but we're also going to take this as an opportunity for our announcement. So just a few words on the 15,000 subscriber benchmark. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who subscribes to this channel. It really does go a long way to helping motivate me to keep up the work that I put in to create this content for you guys. And also a huge thank you to those who haven't got around to subscribing yet, but watch the content regularly, comment in the comment section and all those sorts of things. Even if you haven't got around to subscribing, you do go a long way to helping. However, if you wouldn't mind, hitting that subscribe button would be appreciated. And also, if you hit the notification bell, you will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos, because the way YouTube works for some reason these days is even if you subscribe to somebody, it doesn't necessarily give you all of their content in your feed. So if you hit the notification bell, you won't miss anything. And trust me, going forward, you're going to want to have that bell rung so that you don't miss any of the exciting stuff that we've got coming up. But the 15,000 subscribers is quite the milestone. I've been doing this for about 15 years. It seems pretty crazy, but it's been probably closer to maybe between 10 and 15 years, maybe 12 years or something like that. And it's just been a 100% organic growth, this. So I've never paid for subscribers. I've never really pushed it too hard. I just sort of make content at my own leisure over the years and have just continued to grow and expand. And it's really, really exciting to see recent growth with people getting into the hobby. As the hobby grows, I'm growing alongside it. And that's really exciting, and I'm so glad that I can share that with you guys. So just another really strong thank you from the bottom of my heart for those who support this channel. There's a ton of work goes into this, and I am a one-man army. I don't have any producers or editors or script writers or any of that stuff. It's all 100% me, and I love doing it, but it is a lot of work. So I really appreciate you guys showing your support by engaging with the content. And that helps motivate me to continue sinking money into this project and continue bringing that content to you guys. So a huge thank you to everybody, whether you just watch the content, subscribe, whether you contribute, all of those sorts of things are greatly appreciated. At the end of this video, or towards the end I should say, we're going to be doing an extended Q&A session. So I'm going to be answering all your questions. However, there's going to be a ton of questions that you guys are probably already asking in that comment section that I'm not going to be able to get to until the end of the video. So to make sure that your question or your comment doesn't get missed, if you hit the donation button, you can just throw like a 10-cent donation or a $1 donation or whatever, and that'll highlight the question. And then basically when I get to the end of the video and I start going through those comments, I'll be searching for those highlighted donation things. So this is not necessarily me trying to get you guys to contribute financially. It's me just making sure that I don't miss anything, because there's going to be a lot of comments to go through, and I don't want to bore you guys by digging through and reading every single comment. So if you want to make sure that your comment is read live in this video and an answer is given to any questions that you have, make sure you use that super thanks button to highlight your question, and I will make sure that I go back and read each one of those. So That's what we're doing in terms of, or how I'm managing the questions for the Q&A section at the end. I've also had a bunch of people on our existing Discords and our Patreon and our Facebook page and our YouTube channel who have already asked questions, so we're going to go through those as well. But if you want to add one live, that's the way to do it, is to hit that super thanks and do a donation. Cost you $1 and you'll get your question read. So that's the Q&A component. But before we do the Q&A component, and before we dig into the meat and gravy of this video, I have an absolutely monumental announcement to make. I'm very excited, and I'm going to play a little video for you guys. So there we have it, guys. Exalted 40k is here. So I'm really keen to share this with you guys. Basically what we're doing is Blog for the Blood God is being completely rebranded as Exalted, or Exalted 40k. So as you can see, we've got a ton of really new exciting things to go over in regards to this. But Blog for the Blood God is being rebranded with all this new stuff. So the first thing that you'll notice is it's a new name. So the YouTube channel, everything's going to be rebranded to the name Exalted, or Exalted 40k in cases where Exalted is already used. This is to reflect my mission, my desire, which is to exalt every element of the hobby. Everything from, your casual, hobby components and your social elements of the game, that casual side of things, all the way up to the competitive, the team stuff, the single stuff, everything. I want to exalt it all up, and I want to make every part of the hobby at its absolute zenith. I want to take everything to the next level, and I want to make everything as epic as possible. And that's why we are going to, together, we are going to exalt the 40k experience. We're going to make sure everybody is absolutely maxing out every element and getting as much joy, as much excitement out of this hobby as is possible. And that's why we've got the new name, Exalted. And there's a few things about this. One of them is that, being a more generic name as opposed to Blog for the Blood God, Exalted, easy to say, it's faster, rolls off the tongue, it works better for marketing and branding and that sort of stuff, and it's also going to make some sick merchandise. So we'll get into all of that at the moment, or in a moment, I should say. But yeah, new brand name, Exalted. You'll also notice that there's a new logo there, which is just the X from the Exalted word. It's a clearer, bolder, and stronger logo than the previous Blog for the Blood God logo. It's got more details, unique, and basically what it is it's the X from the font, but I've added those little bands at the back so that it's sort of a nod to the symbol for corn, but it's not a direct copy of the symbol for corn. So it's a unique brand, but it's also sort of nodding to its history and where it came from, and should fit in really well with the art style of the 40k universe, whilst not being a direct copy like the previous logo, which was literally just a stencil of Khan the Betrayer's helmet. That was a direct copy, whereas this is something new, something unique, and something really exciting. So that's the new logo. And basically, along with this rebrand, we're going to be doing a ton of new content. I'm bringing back battle reports. I know this is something that people have asked for a lot, and some of my previous most successful videos were battle report content. Part of the reason why that got put on hold was because I was focusing so much on my captaincy for Team Australia, my captaincy for Team Victoria, all of the singles events that I was attending, and I was just finding it really hard to find the time to record and edit battle reports. However, with a bit of a restructure in my personal life and my priorities, I'm going to be able to bring those back. So we're going to be doing battle reports for you guys. I'm going to do them in the same style that I used to. So for those who are new and might not be familiar with it, it's basically going to be two blokes, handheld cameras, and we're going to basically talk through what we're doing, when and why, so that you guys can simultaneously learn some tactics and strategies from the battle report whilst getting that enjoyable experience, the excitement of the dice rolls, that sort of stuff. So it's not going to be your standard top-down camera. It's going to be a lot more like you're involved, much more like when you're standing around watching a couple of your mates play. That's what we're going for. I'm also going to be doing some painting and hobby-related content, because in the past I've focused exclusively on the competitive side of things, but I want to bring that sort of full Exalted experience together by doing some hobby content as well. So basically I'm going to get a camera booth set up where I'm going to be able to sit there and paint, and we'll do a live stream not too dissimilar to this, but I'll be painting up some models and we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about that hobby process whilst just shooting the shit, having some drinks, and enjoying the hobby as well as enjoying, the competitive side of the game, because I genuinely believe that the more you engage with each element of this hobby, the more you enjoy it. If you just borrow someone's army, take it to a tournament because it's the top meta army, you're going to really enjoy that tournament and you're going to do really well, but you'll enjoy it more if you built and painted the army, right? So the idea here is to sort of hopefully inspire you guys to exalt your painting and take it to that next level. And we're also going to be doing a ton more live streams, so there'll be those hobby-based live streams, but we're also just going to do hobby hangs where I'll be getting people on and we'll kick back in the couch and just talk about 40k in general, talk about recent developments, recent events, recent metas, updates, changes, all of that sort of stuff. We're going to be doing a lot more live streams in that style, which is going to be a ton of fun. We're also going to be doing a ton more interviews with successful, prominent people from around the world. We're going to be getting them on the channel and chatting to them about what makes them tick, how they approach the game, what their sort of views are, and all those sorts of things. We're going to be doing reviews of events, reviews of releases, that sort of stuff. And then we're also going to broaden the faction coverage. So we're going to be doing, instead of exclusively World Eater stuff, we're going to be looking at a little bit more Chaos Space Marine stuff as well. And I'm going to try and cram a ton more information in, release more videos more frequently with a broader range of topics so that everybody gets something out of it. Now, I'm not going to turn around and start running Eldar and start doing Eldar content, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm definitely not going to start doing Tau. It'll always be Chaos, and that's one of the reasons why I went with the term Exalted, because that's a very chaotic term for, the Exalted Demon Princes and the Exalted 8-Bound and the Exalted Bloodthirsters and all of these sorts of things. It's a very chaotic way of saying, like, the next level sort of thing. So don't have to worry about that, but we will be dipping into it. Maybe I'll run some Demons lists, maybe I'll run some CSM, I'll be sort of mixing it up a little bit to try to spread that information around. So that's the other part of the puzzle here, which is really, really exciting. We're also going to be, as part of this new Exalted venture, is I'm going to be doing a lot more coaching and a lot more tailored coaching programs. So what we've got is beginner, intermediate, and advanced level coaching. So one of the things I commonly get asked is, like, what sort of coaching is good for me? There's some people that are like, I'm just a beginner, coaching will just go over my head. Or I'm already intermediate, I'm already decent, the coaching will be too basic for me. So basically what I'm trying to do is break it down into multiple tiers, where if you're a beginner, maybe you've been playing 40k with your mates, you're considering going to an event, you can sign up, get that beginner coaching, and I'll teach you everything that you need to know to prepare yourself for your first event, or your first handful of events, and how to get ready for that sort of stuff. Then I'm going to be doing intermediate stuff, which is like, you've attended a couple of tournaments, you've really enjoyed it, but you always lose your games. Like, you end up in a 5-round tournament, you win 1, you lose 4, and you really want to step up and get better at the game. I'll be doing those more intermediate things, and that'll be covering off things like how to write a good army list, where to find that information and how to pass it, all of those sorts of things, and then how to sort of approach the game, how to use things like chess clocks, and how to, sort of do your target priority and all of that sort of stuff. And then we'll be doing the more advanced stuff. And that's when it's like, cool, I go to tournaments, I normally win 3 games and lose 2. And I really want to win 4 games and lose 1, or potentially even go undefeated and win a GT. And that's where we're going to be talking about those more advanced things that really help you take your game to the next level. Things like target priority, things like advanced combat tactics, things like meta-analysis, and those sorts of things will be in the advanced style of coaching. So this is going to include things like phone calls with like video calls, and also overview and commentary on Tabletop Simulator. This is probably the #1 thing that people request of me is Tabletop Simulator. So I have finally got off my ass and downloaded it and had a little bit of a play with it. Now, I'm not very competent on Tabletop Simulator. I don't know how it all works. However, I have already figured out how to watch a game. So basically, at the very start at least, the way that this coaching is going to work is if you tee up a game with a mate or something like that, I'll watch and I'll basically give you tips throughout, as long as your opponents are happy with this, of course. But I'll basically give you some tips and tricks throughout, talk through the decisions with you, help you understand the more competitive mindset on how to sort of approach various situations within the game. And that's the coaching that I'll be providing on those more advanced levels of the coaching program. So really excited to share my years and years and years of competitive experience with you guys to hopefully exalt your results. So that's really exciting. And one of the other things that we've got here, which is going to drive a lot of this, is we have a new website. So this is going to have access to our media content on there. There's an online store on the website. There's a community section and there's a downloads section. So let's pop over now and have a look at this exciting new website. So give us 2 seconds to just get all the thingies in the thingy. Boom, there we go. So this is the new Exalted 40k website. So it's just exalted40k.com, all one word. So this is the home of, or the hub for all the things you need for Exalted 40k. So we've got a section here for our media, which links to our YouTube channel, which is currently still branded and whatever as Blog for the Blood God, because I didn't want to spoil the surprise. But that's going to get rebranded over the coming days. And that is where you'll find all of the videos and all of the content that I do under the brand Exalted, right? We've also got here the online store. We've got a section for the community and then a section for downloads. Now, the downloads section isn't fully established yet, but basically what we're going to do is that's going to take you to another page, which is going to have a ton of useful resources. So it's going to have like pairings documents that I've used for Teams events, so that if you're attending a Teams event, instead of creating one yourself, you can use one that was used by the world-class Australian Warhammer 40k team, and that's going to really help exalt your team experience. We're also going to have really helpful tools that are going to help you navigate games of Warhammer 40k. We're going to have things like the Exalted font. You'll notice that this font here is the same font as what's used on the logo. So if you want to, play around with that font's going to be available for download. Just cool stuff like that. And then we're also going to have the Exalted 40k 3D printing library is going to be on here. So basically all of the stuff that I've designed is going to be available to download for free without having to worry about anything on that website. So that's really, really exciting. Let's jump over and have a quick look at this community section, and I'll show you through that, and then we'll jump over to the online store. So click on the community, and it takes you straight to our new Exalted 40k Patreon. So this is patreon.com/Exalted40k. And as you can see, we've got our cool Exalted logo here with our burning city in the background. Now, you'll notice that a lot of this is still very heavily modeled on the same artistic design as Blog for the Blood God. I basically wanted to make the transition as seamless as possible by changing the name and the logo, but without changing everything. I didn't want to change the whole setup. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to drip feed more changes over time. We're going to change up the way that the background of the videos work and the overlays and all of that sort of stuff. We're going to change up this artistic style over time. But for now, we're just focusing on the name itself. But this here, the new Patreon, this is separate to the old Blog for the Blood God one. And this one has a bunch of really cool stuff. So let's jump into the membership section. This is where you're going to want to go to sign up to join the Exalted 40K experience. So the first tier that is available is just the Exalted Supporter. Now, this is a $5 a month donation. It doesn't come with any benefits, but it's a really great way for people who have appreciated and enjoyed my content over the years to show their thanks. And think of it like buying me a beer. You know, it's $5. It's not anything super major, but if enough people do it, it'll really contribute towards improving the quality of the content on this channel, and also just covering things like the monthly costs of all of the various programs and subscriptions that I need to maintain in order to keep this channel going. So that's the Exalted Supporter. The next is the Exalted Community. Now, this is if you want to join the Exalted Community and be a part of the action, this is where it starts. Basically, this is $20 a month, and these are Australian dollars as well, so bugger all for you Americans and Europeans, so really cheap. And this is basically going to give you access to our members-only Discord server. And this is a place where we can talk about list ideas, share memes, banter. I'll do exclusive 3D printable files on there. So I'm going to have a library on the website that's public and is free, but we're going to do some exclusive stuff that's only available to the people on these in this Discord. We're going to do hobby updates and just generally share our passion for the game. That's where this happens. A really cool little Discord community. It's not going to be huge because it's private and you don't need to be a supporter to access it. But one of the things that does is it means it's going to be intimate and bespoke. You'll make friends in there, you'll develop relationships with people in there, and you'll have a ton of fun. As opposed to those Discord servers that you join that's got 8 billion people and 60 billion channels and moderators and all of this stuff, and it's all this chaotic stuff. It's really hard to find anything, really hard to get communication. There's plenty of those out there. This one's a more private, bespoke community that's of like-minded players, so that's really exciting. You also are going to get the ability to request content for future videos in here. So if there's something that you want to see discussed and deep dived, you can ask for it in there, and that's where I'm going to be taking the feedback. So this is where I'm going to be going to when I'm in a slump and I'm like, I can't think of anything to make a video on this week. I'll jump in there and I'll be like, all right, guys, what do you reckon? And somebody will be like, oh, I want to see something on heroic intervention. I'll be like, yep, cool, I'll do a heroic intervention masterclass, and I'll pull out all the stops and I'll go make that video. So if you want to have a hand in guiding the direction of this channel going forward, that's where you're going to want to do it. That's a really, really cool place to share that idea and feedback. You'll also get invitations to participate in live streamed content. So there's a few things that we're looking to do. One of them is more live stream stuff because people really enjoy it. They can engage with it. But live stream can get a little dull if it's just me talking at you for 2 hours, right? So what I'm looking to do is people that join that Exalted community will be able to participate in the actual live stream content itself. So we'll do like a Discord call where we can have people's voices and people can ask me questions in real time, and I'll respond to it in real time, and we'll actually have conversations, kind of like an interview, but think of it like with a bunch of people. Maybe we'll have sessions where somebody will be like, hey, cool, I've got an event coming up next weekend, I want to write a list, and we'll get a bunch of people together and we'll have a live stream where we'll talk about writing that list together. So that's the sort of stuff that I'm looking to do, and if you want to be a part of any of that sort of stuff, then this is where to go. And you're also going to get 5% off all orders on the Exalted store, which we'll go to in a moment. So that's the Exalted community, $20 a month to join it, and you get a ton of benefits. Now, the next one is the highlighted tier. This is the one that I would recommend for most people if they're interested. This is Team Exalted. So this is a $50 a month subscription, so it's not cheap. However, it's going to get you expanded access to that members-only Discord server. I'm finally wrapping my head around Discord and how to create different members tiers and access and roles and all that sort of stuff. So basically, there's going to be an extra section on that Discord that's only available to people that are part of Team Exalted, and that's going to have a whole bunch of extra stuff in there. So there's going to be things like exclusive 3D prints for them. There's going to be things like direct list writing services. So this is where you can tell me, hey, I've got an event coming up and I'm struggling to write a list, and I will have a one-on-one conversation with specifically you, and we'll go through and we'll write your list together to make sure that you're happy and comfortable with your list. so that you can go into those events with that Exalted mindset. We're also going to have event preparation. So if maybe you've got an event coming up and you haven't even got to the list writing stage, you want to, understand, how do I read the map pack? How do I understand the player pack? How do I prepare for the missions that we're going to be playing? How do I analyze and interpret the meta? Those sorts of things we're going to be doing. We're going to do specific matchup advice. Like you might be saying, cool, I always seem to lose when I play against Custodes. How do I beat Custodes, right? We'll do deep dives on that. I'll pull out the Custodes book. We'll go through it together. We'll go through the meta for the Custodes, like a completely separate, non-World Eaters related deep dives. So that's all available with Team Exalted. We're also going to have tailored and personal coaching. So that's where I was talking about that beginner tier, that intermediate, and that advanced tier. This is available to people that are on Team Exalted. And that's going to be able to really help elevate you and take you to that next level. So that's the expanded Discord stuff. We're also going to have being included in Team Exalted for all official purposes. So Best Coast pairings, we're going to create Team Exalted. You can join Team Exalted and have your scores tracked, sort of like a club. We'll be doing it like that. And also there's going to be exclusive Team Exalted merchandise that you'll be able to get. So t-shirts with Team Exalted written on it. There's going to be special dice trays and all kinds of really cool stuff that you can pick up only if you're a member of Team Exalted. It's also going to have a lot of the previous benefits, like the ability to request content for coming up videos, participating in live streams, etc. And also you're going to get a 10% discount at the Exalted 40k store. And obviously people within Team Exalted will be a high priority. So if there's a lot of content requests coming through, I will be prioritizing the things requested by members from Team Exalted. So this is a really cool and exciting way that you can get involved with Exalted 40k. And then the last tier down here is called the Exalted Inner Circle. Now this one's $100 a month, and it's going to be very exclusive. I expect there to be no more than 5 people in here at any given time, but this is going to give you unlimited ultimate access to everything in that Discord server. You're going to get monthly one-on-one coaching calls to discuss any areas you want to improve. So we'll do video calls. This is the one where I'll be able to watch your tabletop simulator games and give you direct guidance throughout games. That sort of stuff will be exclusively available to those in the Exalted Inner Circle. You're going to get direct list writing advice with deep dives on your local meta. So like I will go into whatever town you're from, whatever city you're from, I would go into the Best Coast pairings, dig through, find the top players, the top competitors within that sort of community. I'll analyze their lists, I'll figure out their playstyles, I'll give you advice on how to counter those lists and playstyles, what to look out for. We'll really go on like God mode and we'll really exalt your 40k experience. So Inner Circle gets special treatment. We're also going to give, how to beat your mates. If you've got a mate that plays a certain faction, I will make sure that you beat him. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. This is also, you'd also be considered a member of Team Exalted from the Inner Circle. You get all of the same sort of stuff, and you get a 15% discount on the Exalted store, which essentially means that items on the Exalted store you're going to get for cost price, because I don't think the margin on almost any of it is more than 15%. So you'll essentially get all that Exalted stuff for cost price, which is really, really exciting. And the people on the Inner Circle will essentially develop a pretty close friendship with me, because we'll be talking regularly. This will be like being included in one of my private messenger groups, and we'll be chatting, we'll be shooting the shit, and we'll sort of develop a real strong relationship. I'll get to know you, your strengths and weaknesses, and then I'll be able to help you guys with everything that you need. So that's really, really exciting, and will be a ton of fun. So if you want to learn a little bit more about all of that sort of stuff, head over to exalted40k.com. And that's the website there, exalted40k.com. I've just seen that somebody's asked me to pin it. I'm not sure if I can just copy that, paste it in the chat, like so, and then pin. Is that a thing? There you go, pin message. Thank you, Mo. Good call out. So that's the new website there. So we've now looked at the community section. The media section just links to the YouTube channel, which you guys obviously know how to find because you're there. The next thing we're going to look at is the online store and some of the awesome merchandise that we have available. So now this is not an extensive list. This is just the stuff that we have so far, and we're planning to expand that range going forward. So you can see here we've got that says collapsible dice tray, but I need to update that. That's a ruler. So we've got rulers, we've got blessings trackers, we've got neoprene objective markers, we've got collapsible dice trays, we've got another neoprene objective marker, and then there's my Make Angron Great Again hat, which there's only, I think, 5 of those left, and they're not going to be a repeated item. So if you want to troll your mates and have a little bit of fun, you can wear that. It's funny. But that is the merchandise that's going to come along with this rebrand, and there's going to be a ton more merchandise added to there. We've got dice on the way. We've received the prototypes, and I'm very happy with them. So I've now told them to put them into manufacturing. That was a couple of weeks ago, so we should be a week or so off having them delivered, and then we're going to have a ton of dice that are going to go up on that website. We've also got dice bags that I'm stitching myself. That's going to be really, really interesting. So we'll see how that goes. And then a ton of other stuff coming as well. So what I want to do now is click the PowerPoint back on and talk about the giveaways that we have for this this video. So this is really, really exciting. I look forward to giving some stuff away. Basically, at the end of this video, I'm going to be giving away essentially an Exalted 40k show bag, and it's going to have one of every item that was listed on that website, one of every Exalted item, plus 25 dice, the prototypes that we got delivered. That's going to be sent out to one person, randomly selected from anyone who signs up to the new Exalted 40k Patreon by the end of this video. So if you want to jump over, even if it's the $5 supporter tier, if you jump over, click in that, kind of like buying a raffle ticket, but basically you're going to jump over, join that Patreon. That's going to gain you immediate access to the Discord server if you buy the appropriate tiers, and we'll get started in there straight away. But basically, I'm going to be giving away a pack, an Exalted 40k pack, to one person, and then I've also got 3 boxes here of Terminators, which basically I was doing a big clean out of the garage that I do my videos in, and I found these 3 boxes. Now these are 3 of the Red Butchers, 3 boxes of 10 Red Butchers that I printed back when I was selling them online. Unfortunately, Games Workshop shut down that component of my Etsy store. They basically said you can't sell 3D prints, it's illegal. So I basically had these 3 that I can't sell, but I have no use for them because I got like 60 Terminators myself. So basically there's going to be those 3 boxes and the show bag of Exalted 40k merch that are going to be given away to essentially the 4 lucky people that subscribe over on that Patreon. So there's a link pinned in the chat now. So head over there, even do it right now. Head over there, jump in, join the Patreon, and we're going to be giving away a ton of really cool stuff. So what I'll do is I'll grab the show bag now. So this is our Exalted 40k show bag. Oh. And I'm going to show you some of the really cool stuff that's in there. So, I think the first thing to showcase is the rulers, because they're kind of cool. Let me just dig them out. So we've got these rulers here. So you've got 2 that comes in the set, and basically this top one is 9 inches by 2 inches by 6 inches by 1 inch. So that's really good. You can use this 9 inches as your deep strike or your rapid ingress, and they're double-sided as well, which is kind of cool. And yeah, you can use that to measure out your deep strikes. Your 6 inches, you can use that for standard infantry movement. Your 2 inches, you can use for coherency. Really, really helpful to check out that your models are within coherency. And then your 1 inch, you can use for working out engagement range. And also, you'll notice that these spikes along the top, each one of those spikes is exactly 1 inch apart. So if you've got a 7-inch move, you can just go, cool, I'm here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you can move your model that far up to that spike, and you're good to go. So really nifty tool there. And then this one here is the combat gauge. So basically the idea here is it's 2 inches by 2 inches along the top there and the side there. Then the longer edge is 3 inches, which is great for piling in, consolidating, those sorts of things. And then your 1 inch along the top there for working out your engagement range. It's worth noting that World Eaters, we have a 6 inch pile in and consolidate, which is why this has the 6 inches along this side. So 9 inch for your deep strikes along the top there, 6 inches for your 6 inch pile ins, and then 3 inch for your 3 inch pile ins. So a really, really nifty way of making sure that your measurements are precise. So that's one part of the show bag that's going to be given away. The next part I'll show you is the objective markers, because they're kind of cool. So here we have them here. So these are your standard neoprene objective markers. You've probably seen them before. They've got the grippy back on them, and they've got this nice smooth top on them with the Exalted logo printed on there. So there's a pack of 6 of those, which is going to be great for your games 40k. Next up, we have the blessings tracker. So this is for monitoring and tracking your blessings dice throughout. So it's double-sided. You've got the Exalted logo on the back. You've got the front here, which has got all of your different blessings. So you can roll your dice. You can reference the numbers in here. So you don't have to pull out the app or pull out the codex to try to remember what your various blessings are and what you needed to roll to get each one. You can just jump straight on and pop your dice in there, and it's essentially 2 sheets of MDF, so the dice won't slip out or fall out, and they fit there nice and snug. So that's a really cool way that you can keep your blessings monitored and updated, and you can basically just sit that next to your dice bag or your dice tray or whatever, and keep track of your blessings so that you don't forget what your buffs are. The next one, and this is probably my favorite, is the axe-based blessings tracker. So it's obviously significantly less practical than this guy, but it's way cooler. So basically it's a chain axe, obviously, but it's got the same thing where it's got the holes here for tracking your blessings. There's a few interesting features on this one though. It's got a section here for your blood tithe points. So if you're playing Khorne Demonkin and you want to track your blood tithe points, you can keep them there. And you're also got your command points there, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm a big fan of having my command points tracked on using a dice. So you're basically going to be able to put them in there. And if you're not using Khorne Demonkin, you can use this one to track your opponent's command points. So that's one of the things I like to do, is track both. So every time they spend a CP, I'll tick down theirs, and every time I spend one, I'll tick down mine. But basically, yeah, it's a cool little chain axe. It's double-sided as well with the Exalted logo on the back there. And the good thing about this is if you start losing, you can always just abandon your blessings rolls and wield the axe and start chopping your opponent. So that's really, really cool and exciting. The next thing that we've got in here is the dice tray. So these are very, very cool dice trays. They came out really, really nice. I'm really happy with the quality of these. And basically it lies completely flat, so it'll fit, in the back of your codex or in your bag or whatever without taking up any space. And then when you get ready for the game, you can just clip it together like so with these little press studs. And you have yourself a high quality, nice, compact, easy to use dice tray. And you'll notice that it's roughly the same size as your blessings tracker. So these guys go together quite well as a little package. And you can use those to monitor your stuff. So you can roll your blessings into here and then immediately take the dice out, pop them in your tracker. And then the last thing that I'll show you, which is going to show up really horribly on this camera because the second I try to hold them close to the camera blurs, but that is the Exalted dice. So you've got your dice tray, and they all slide down the bottom because I had to hold it on an angle, but basically it's not going to show up great, but there's a little Exalted logo on there, and they have a really cool feature that I've never seen in other dice before, which I'm not sure if you can see it super well there, but down the guts of them is clear red, and then on the side with the 1 is black marble, and then on the side with the logo is black marble. So it's kind of like it almost looks like one of those licorice all sorts, but with that gory red through the guts of it, and the black on the top and the bottom. And then the logo itself is a two-toned logo, so you got the red on the inside of the Exalted, and then the gold edging on that as well. So these are really, really cool dice. I'm really, really happy with the design. And we've got a couple of thousand of them on the way, which are going to go up on the store. But if you want to get your hands on some of these, and they roll really well, they roll really clean, they're really, really visible because you've got these really strong white pips over the very dark red and the dark black. So they're really easy to see. And then because the logo on them isn't white, it's really easy to see your sixes. You roll it out and you can just see, bang, there's all these red sixes, and then everything else has got these white pips on it. So it makes it, it really stands out, and they look absolutely fantastic, especially when the light hits them on an angle and you can see those transparent sections running through the middle of all the dice. The Exalted dice are absolutely fantastic, and that's the prototype set, and they are going to be given away in this giveaway. Then it might be a month or so before they're available for purchase. So if you want to be the very first person to get your hands on a set of Exalted dice, the only way you can do it is to head over to the Patreon, jump in there, grab a membership, and you'll be in the running. And then basically at the end of this video, before we close it off, after we've gone through all the questions and answers, after we've gone through everything, we're going to be jumping over and we're going to be checking to see who's in there. And then basically, depending on how many people are in there, I'll find some method for randomizing who's going to win it. And we're going to basically, one person's going to get this show bag, which is going to have all of the items listed on the screen there. And then somebody else is going to get one of each of those Terminator box sets. So if you want to get your hands on 10 Terminators, with the points cost just going down, Terminators are looking really good. So if you want to get your hands on those, that's the same way. Go in to the Exalted 40K on Patreon and sign up today. So that's the prize giveaway. So that's really exciting. This is a close-up of the dice so that you can see a little bit better the way that we've got that transparent red running straight through the guts of it, and the really cool logo with the gold and the red. So that's the logo, that's the dice. They look absolutely fantastic. I'm really happy with those. They're from Baron of Dice, who's an official sponsor of the channel. That's one of the other things that's changing. We get a few official sponsors coming on board that are going to be backing the channel. So that's really, really exciting. And yeah, that's where we're at with that. Now let's jump over to the next thing. So the next question that people probably are curious on is, like, why rebrand? You know, Blog for the Blood God has been such an iconic thing. We've been doing it for 15 years, or approximately. So why do a rebrand? And I'm not going to lie, the motivating thing behind the timing is that GW recently hit me with a cease and desist on multiple fronts. So my previous dice manufacturer, they had a cease and desist placed on the dice, and the reason they claimed was because the logo itself was a depiction of Khan the Betrayer, which is part of their intellectual property. So GW actually took issue with the logo of my YouTube channel. So they basically told that manufacturer, you cannot sell those dice anymore. They also took down my Etsy store because I was selling 3D prints. Now, some of these 3D prints were things that, you know, multiple sculptors have painstakingly sculpted, and then I've purchased the rights from those sculptors to manufacture and then sell that stuff. And these are things that GW didn't do. They didn't sell. Like the Red Butcher's Terminators, for example, they don't sell those, right? So it's kind of disappointing. But I can also kind of see it from their angle, you know, if they make Terminators really good and then all of a sudden everybody wants to go out and buy 30 Terminators, and instead of buying them from Games Workshop, they're buying them from my Etsy store, it could, in theory, hurt their sales. So I do kind of, you know, get, you know, I get their position. So, you know, that's fair enough, I guess. And then the other one was I had a series of my videos demonetized on YouTube with claims of copyright. And unfortunately, YouTube is really, really frustrating when it comes to copyright claims because they don't give you enough information. So I'm not 100% sure if it was even GW that claimed this. And I'm also not 100% sure what whoever claimed it was that had a problem with, right? So I'm not 100% sure, but I suspect this again was GW striking because they seem to be going on a bit of a spree at the moment, and so with all of that considered, I was like, you know what, I've been thinking about doing a rebrand for a long time, and I think it's time. That's what sort of sparked this timing. And then also, like, Blog for the Blood God is a long and cumbersome name, and it's also very easily confused. Even when I'm saying it to people, I have to really emphasize that it's Blog for the Blood God, because if you say it too fast, Blog for the Blood God, people go, oh, Blood for the Blood God. Yeah, I know that. And they Google Blood for the Blood God, and they don't get anywhere near my content. So I wanted to make it so it's less cumbersome and more easily recognizable, more unique. And also, Blog for the Blood God, it's also very limited to a Khorne theme, whereas I want to be able to at least give myself the room that I can expand into things like your Chaos Space Marines, that sort of stuff, if I want to. Whereas it's very hard to do that when it's super obvious that your channel is a Khorne channel, right? So that's part of it as well. So, and also calling it Blog for the Blood God doesn't really make a ton of sense because it's not much of a blog anymore. That's where it originally started, was me just blogging my experiences, where I'd basically, on Facebook, I'd post images and walls of text talking about my hobby, talking about attending tournaments, that sort of stuff. So it was a blog, but it's now evolved into something completely different. So it requires an updated name, in my opinion. So that's where we get the new brand name, Exalted 40k. So now you're probably wondering about, okay, so if you're moving away from Blog for the Blood God, what's going to happen with Blog for the Blood God, right? And it's going to continue as a blog specifically. So basically, www.blogforthebloodgod.com is going to stay open, it's going to stay active, and I'm going to be posting articles and things like that there that are going to be talking about my tournament experiences and stuff. That's going to be my personal hobby blog, but all of the content that I create, the videos, the masterclasses, the battle reports, all of that sort of content is going to be on YouTube and Facebook, and that's going to be under Exalted 40k. I'm also looking into expanding into things like Instagram, TikTok, X, all of these sorts of things. I'm a bit of a boomer, so it does take me a lot longer than everybody else to pick up these new sort of trends, and I worry that by the time I figure it out, there'll be some new thing that I'm supposed to be doing, and I'll be like, fuck, I just want to play Warhammer. But I am looking into those because obviously I want to be able to share this content as broadly as possible with as many people as possible so that, everybody gets to enjoy the experience. So we are going to keep Blog for the Blood God. So now I just want to do another quick reminder for that giveaway. Please don't delay. Make sure you jump over. Do it right now. The link's at the top. Click on that. Head over to the Discord and join up. And we'll be doing a big, what do you call it? A live draw at the end of the video. So that's the best way to get involved there. So now we're going to head into some Q&As. So just a reminder that if you've got any questions you want to ask in the chat right now, you can, for $1 donation, you can make it a super chat, and I won't miss it. I'll be basically, once I get through the questions that have been pre-submitted, I'll be scrolling back through, but there's a ton of, I can already see them now, there's a ton of people saying things in there that are more comments, less questions, and I don't want to have to dig through everything and read it all and slow everybody down and waste everybody's time. So if you want to make sure that your question is highlighted, you can do so with that super thanks button, and that way I will get to your question and I will read it. So with that being said, I'm going to take a sip of my drink and we're going to jump into the first set of questions. So I really hope you guys found that exciting, by the way, that new rebrand, the new logo, the new bits and bobs. I think it's really cool, and I'm really expecting big things coming forward. Alright, so the first set of questions. So we've got here, hey mate, with 10th edition 40k closing in on the end of its cycle, what would you say was your favourite edition so far? Oh, that's a really good question. So, my favorite edition so far would either be 10th edition itself, or I think 8th edition. 8th edition was where I sort of first became a heavy hitter in the tournament scene. That was when I first started like winning GTs, winning events, dominating teams events. That's where I really sort of came into my own. So that'll always hold a special place in my heart. But I've loved every edition. So 8th edition was great for that. And also 8th edition, there was a bunch of really interesting stuff that I was able to figure out that was really nuanced tactics. So I'll give you one quick story. The pinning technique. So basically, this is where you used to be able to basically try-point your model, where if you put three of your berserkers around one of their models, they can't fall back because they couldn't back then. You couldn't move through enemy models when you fell back, which meant that they were trapped in combat with you, and that meant that they couldn't shoot your Khorne berserkers no matter what happened. And that was really, really fun to do. It was really, really challenging, but it was really, really high level. And basically, the way that I discovered this, like, it was one of those things that was probably invented multiple different places simultaneously, like the wheel. But I definitely invented it in Melbourne and in Australia. I was the sort of the first, patient zero of pinning. And basically, what had happened is I was playing an event where I was playing against an Imperial Guard player, and I've charged a unit of Khorne berserkers into a unit of guardsmen, and I've killed them all, right? And then he's removed every model bar one. And I'm like, oh, sorry, dude, you missed one of your guardsmen. He's like, oh, no, that's a commander. And I'm like, I didn't realize there was a commander in the middle of that unit. I would have attacked him as well. I was like, okay, well, fair enough. I didn't declare any attacks into him, so that unit's gone. But then I basically consolidated in and wrapped around this commander. And then I realized, well, hang on a minute. That commander now has to attack me. He's not going to kill a berserker. And now that commander can't fall back because he's surrounded by berserkers. Which means all your Lehman Russ tanks and stuff can't shoot my berserkers. And I was like, hang on. And then I now kill your commander in your turn. And then in my turn, I'm able to jump out and charge all your tanks. So then I was like, wow, that was amazing. And then I was like, I wonder if you could engineer that scenario. So then I started like basically deep diving ways that you could do that. So maybe you charge this unit over here, but with your charge move, you string a couple guys around near this other unit, you fight that unit, you kill it, and then you pile in and you wrap around a model in this second unit, and now you've pinned that unit, and your opponent can't shoot you. Things like that. Then I was finding out, well, what if they have no units near them? Well, what if you do like a soft charge, where you move your unit far enough away so that when you make your charge, only one or two berserkers gets to fight. But then, so therefore you don't kill that unit. But then when you do your consolidate move, you're able to wrap around and pin one of the models. So even if they've got a unit on its own, you could do this. And like, it was such an amazingly fun and rewarding experience going through and doing all of these shenanigans to work out tricks on how to basically take hostages in war. That's essentially what I was doing. The berserkers would charge a unit, they would wrap around a guy, and then because they're holding that guy down, the enemy won't shoot into the thing because they don't want to shoot the hostages. And then as a result, I was able to then do these crazy combos, and it was so much fun and so rewarding. So that's one of the reasons I loved 8th edition. I love 10th edition because I think of all of the editions of the game, it's the most balanced, it's the most accessible and user-friendly, and it's also, because of the rate in which they update things, it's also got the least amount of feels bad moments. There's very few instances where something is overpowered and is untouchable for very long. There's always going to be some moments where something becomes OP, but because of those rolling updates, that regular update cycle, it gives every faction gets its time in the sun, and then it gets brought down to the same level as every other faction. There's very few factions that are unplayably garbage, and there's very few factions that are like just hyper dominant. And I think that's one of the defining features of 10th edition. That's really, really cool. But there's some other editions that were really, really good as well. Honorable shout out to 7th edition. That was really, really fun. 7th edition for me was most exciting because it was all about list writing. Basically, one of the advantages in 7th edition was if you analysed the meta effectively, figured out what the top lists were going to be, designed a list that had the tools to beat that top list, you could dominate the tournament. And that's not necessarily true of modern 40k. That was very true back then. And I really enjoyed that because it meant that the tournament itself was all about execution, but the whether or not you were going to win or not was decided in the weeks leading up to the tournament. You know, we're trying to work out what people were likely to play and how do you go about beating that list, and then what tools do you need to put in your list to give you that advantage. That made the days and the weeks leading up to each event just as important as what you did at the event. Whereas nowadays it feels a lot more sanitized. It feels a lot more like you just write your list, you know, independent of what everybody else is doing. You just write a cool list, you know, and you take it to a tournament and you do well with it. And that to me is a little bit more stale, a little bit more sanitized. And 7th edition was a little bit more, you know, there was a lot of expression available to you in the way that you wrote your lists. But it obviously had its huge problems too. Like the 7th edition rulebook was like a fucking billion pages long, and was super complex with references to references, and it was just absolute nightmare. So that would be why I would probably say if I had to pick one, I'd pick 8th edition was my favorite. Next question: why the fuck should we still play Warhammer when GW keep fucking its players? So first of all, they don't just fuck their players; they also kind of fuck their content creators. But that being said, the reason we should still continue to play Warhammer is because we love Warhammer, right? And you know, in the same way that, you know, you want to separate the art from the artist. You know, if you really love a certain, you know, musician and you really love their music, if they do something horrific, that doesn't make the song crap. You know, if GW are doing unethical business practices, in your opinion, you know, that doesn't make the product bad. That doesn't mean that Warhammer's not awesome. You know, I love Warhammer and I will continue to play it regardless. That doesn't absolve them from any guilt, and that doesn't mean they're beyond feedback. But if you have a problem with GW, you voice the concern with them, and they've demonstrated over the last couple of years that they do listen to feedback, and they do want to provide the best experience they can whilst generating as much possible profit. And to be honest, we kind of want them to generate as much profit as possible, because as we've seen, the more profit they get, the more they produce, the more they do for their community. You know, they're starting to do big events now. They've got this rolling FAQ that's something that we've asked for. They've got apps developed that's something that we've asked for. Now, have they landed every one of these things perfectly? Absolutely not. But at least they're trying. At least they're listening to what we want, and they're doing their best to provide that sort of service. So I've got countless, you know, problems with the way that GW manage their business, but all in all, I think they do a fantastic job if you consider everything. And that's why we should continue to play 40k and be passionate about it and share it with as many people as we can, because it truly is fantastic. Favorite unit to use in the history of the World Eaters. So if it's just in the history of World Eaters, so not including CSM back before World Eaters had their own codex, it's probably just got to be Khan the Betrayer and a unit of 10 Khorne Berserkers in a Rhino. That unit is tons of fun. Being able to Blood Surge move is something that's really, really fun, especially now that you can 6-inch pile in and consolidate with the unit. The shenanigans that you can pull off, the tricks you can pull off, is so much fun. I'm a real big fan of that. Or the modern Hellbrute. The pinball trick that Hellbrutes can do is one of those things where I could go to a tournament and lose all 5 games, but if in one of those games I get my Hellbrute to ping pong ball around in someone's backfield and kill like 6 things, I'll walk away from that event happy, you know, because that was fun, that was crazy, that was epic. And for me, a lot of the enjoyment from 40k doesn't come from how many, you know, wins are on my record. It comes from those epic moments, you know, those really exciting moments in the game where something really crazy and cool happens. That's what you remember. You know, when I look back at tournaments, you know, if you were to tell me what was my win-loss ratio at CanCon 4 years ago or whatever, I don't know. But I can tell you I remember this. There used to be a unit that was a Charybdis Assault Claw that could have 20 Khorne Berserkers inside, and it was basically a drop pod with 20 Berserkers in it. And you used to be able to drop pod them down, disembark, then move, so you're like within an inch of your opponent, then charge, with Khan attached to 20 Khorne Berserkers, And then those 20 Corn Berserkers had inbuilt into their profile the ability to fight twice. So you'd charge their screens, you'd fight it, you'd kill it, then you'd pile into their next unit, you'd fight that, you'd kill that, you'd pile into their next unit, and then you could spend command points to fight a third time. That is something that I remember. And that is what I think makes good 40k. That's what makes it really exciting and really awesome. So that's another top unit, by the way, that I really enjoy. But for me, to be successful at 40k is to seek out those opportunities, seek those lasting memories, and don't obsessively chase just wins. You know, it's about more than just winning. Yes, you want to try and do it, but you want to do it in a way that you're proud of and that you remember and you look back on with fondness. You know, you look back and you're like, I remember that event. That was fun. You know, so that was my favorite unit or units. What strategy, successful or not, is your all-time favorite and why? It would have to be that pinning strategy that I discussed earlier. I'm gonna be a bit pedantic here, and I'm gonna separate out strategy and tactic. For me, strategy is your general approach, the decisions that you've made, and the sort of strategies that you're going to use that you plan before you get to the table, right? So this might be, I take 3 Forge Fiends so that I can put one of them in strategic reserves, the other 2 on the table. That's my general strategy, right? Or it might be, I'm going to take a unit of 3 Exalted 8-bound with a Slaughter Band attached, and I'm going to put them in Deep Strike so that they can rapid ingress turns 2 or 3, right? And I'm going to do that with them almost every game. That's the strategy, right? But then a tactic is something specific that you do within a game based on that game state. So my favorite strategy would probably be what I did with the 30 Terminators. That was a really good one, where basically I would play cagey for 2 turns, and then I'd just full send everything, where I basically bring 2 units out, rapid ingress a 3rd unit, go in, and then hit them with 30 Terminators at once. That was a really fun strategy, because often people didn't see it coming. They thought I was going to be rapid ingressing 1 every turn. They thought I was going to be coming out, charging, contesting objectives. But basically, I'd sit everything hidden, and they'd put the stuff out onto objectives, and I'd just be like, yep, cool, you can have your 10 points. I'm not going to engage that. And they'd look at me confused, and then it'd go into their second turn, and they'd be like, okay, what do I do now? Do I send into Dean, or what do I do? And it was really fun to watch people sort of not understand that strategy, and then by the time it's clicked, oh no, this is what he's doing, it was too late. Because then I'd be dropping everything, coming out, hitting them, and they'd realize, damn it, I've got 30 Terminators in my face, and I can't kill them all, because it's now turn 3, I've got turns 4 and 5, and half my army's dead, and I've got to try and kill 30 Terminators, and by the time they've realized what's happening, it's too late, and they're in trouble, right? That was the 30 Terminators strategy. But my favorite tactic is things like that pinning technique, or another good one is using your pile-ins and consolidates in creative ways to get around fights first units, and to get around heroic interventions, and to get around like people using command points to interrupt and things like that. The positioning of models during that fight phase, during that charge phase, is like, they're the sorts of tactics, like the slingshot tactic, where you go, cool, I'm going to charge this unit over here so that I can use my 6-inch pile-in to get over here, and then my 6-inch consolidate to get over there, and you sort of swing around your opponent, and you end up charging things that are way further away than people expected. Those sorts of tactics I really, really enjoy. So that's those questions. Let's jump over now and have a look at... let's have another quick talk about this giveaway as well, by the way. I just want to remind everyone that if you want to get involved, it's not going to cost you a cent. I'll cover the postage and everything. All you need to do is jump over to exalted40k.com, click on the community section, and that'll take you through to the Patreon. Sign up there on any tier. Doesn't have to be any particular tier. If you can sign up on any one of those tiers, and that's where you can get your entry to this giveaway. And then also, like, there's immense value in those tiers as well. Like, you get your one-on-one coaching in those Patreon tiers, you get your community, you get your Discord access with your memes, your list writing advice. All of that sort of stuff is handled within that community section. So head over there, subscribe, join up today, and that's where you're going to get a lot of value. So I really look forward to seeing you guys there, and that's going to be where you're going to gain access to these. So we've got the show bag, which has got all of the items listed, and then we've got 3 boxes, each of which can contain 10 Terminators. So they're going to be giveaways as well. So that's where we're going to do that. So make sure to head over to exalted40k.com for those giveaways. Now we've got... sorry, I don't know what's going on there. The camera's being weird. Next set of questions. So, what is a unit you'd like to see added to the World Eaters roster to fill a capability gap, or just because you like it, from lore, legends, or a different Chaos Codex? So for me, I would love to see the Dreadclaw and the Charybdis Assault Claw added. I think it's a perfect opportunity to diversify World Eaters from the other legions, because currently World Eaters kind of feel just like CSM, but with less units available to them. You know, like we've got Possessed, they've got Possessed, we've got 8-bound, they've got Cultists, we've got Jackals, you know, they've got Chosen, we've got Berserkers. Like, it's much of a muchness. It's, you know, we've got Forge Fiends, they've got Forge Fiends, you know, but then they also have Raptors, Obliterators, Havocs, Vindicators, you know, like the fucking, what do you call the accursed cultists, you know, all of the different characters, a billion freaking characters, you know, like they've got such a massive range that as a World Eaters player, it kind of feels like, well, what's our unique thing? What's our identifier? And I think making World Eaters the only Chaos Space Marines with a drop pod would be really cool. It would fit the World Eaters playstyle by going, well, they're an aggressive combat army, right? So yes, they're going to drop pod in turn 1 and they're going to jump out and charge you with Berserkers. Like, that's cool. That really fits the World Eaters sort of playstyle. It also fits their lore and their canon. Like, that is what the World Eaters do. They do go in and do that sort of stuff. So that's really cool. And that's what I would like to see, is the Charybdis Assault Claw and the Dreadclaw. And it'd be cool, like, they could release a plastic kit alongside the Heresy stuff, and then basically just make that plastic kit available for 40k. Or they could make a 40k specific, like World Eaters Charybdis, and make it a little bit more demonic and a little bit more, you know, 40k, as opposed to just a 30k unit ported into the 40k universe. But I think that would be really, really cool. And then you could make a detachment that's themed around like a drop assault detachment. That would be really, really cool. But other than that, there's your staples. Like, I'd love to see Berserkers riding Juggernauts. I'd love to see Raptors. I'd love to see you know, Red Butchers, obviously. You know, there's tons of things that I'd love to see. But, you know, maybe a unique demon engine, like a Blood Slaughterer. You know, there's so much potential to expand this range, and hopefully we'll get something similar to like what the Votann have just received, where there'll be another wave will come with another like 4 or 5 units. That would be really, really cool to see in the future. So yeah, that's what I would probably go ahead and say here. Is there any way to make Possessed Slaughter Band good? Now, this was asked 2 weeks ago, and whoever asked that, who's this Chocolate Trout, you're going to be a very happy man, because the recent balanced data slate definitely made Possessed Slaughter Band very, very interesting. So I actually did a live stream earlier today that many of you may have seen. If not, make sure you go check that out. It was an hour and a half just talking about the balanced data slate. And in that, we deep dove the Slaughter Band. We went through all their stratagems and we updated our sort of view on that with the new points cost and the new abilities for the Exalted 8-bound, and talked about the impacts of that. But yes, Possessed Slaughter Band is very good. So we don't need to find a way to make it good. It just is. The next question, how can we get replica axes like yours? Now, this one here, this guy along the top here, is he was won as a trophy at a tournament. So that one I can't really help you with. And then this one, he was gifted to me by a friend. So I'm not 100% sure. When one of my friends got his first 3D printer, he whipped that one up for me as a gift. So I can't really help you out there. I know that if you go to Get Good on find his page, his channel, He has a guy that sells them. I'm not sure if he ships international or not, because obviously it's a big item, and good luck explaining to customs why you need to send somebody an axe. But yeah, he does sell them, which is really cool. And it might be something that I look into in the future to get something on the the Exalted web store. But at this stage, I can't really help you with that. Okay, now, is your Patreon all for competitive play, or is there a beginner section? So, yes, this was something that we discussed earlier, but basically it's tailored towards the competitive side of things, but I am going to be offering beginners coaching on there. So if you're only playing games with your mates at the moment and you just want to sort of get a better understanding of how the game works, and you want somebody who you can just, message them when you've got questions and I'll respond immediately, all of that sort of stuff is available on the new Exalted 40k Patreon. So make sure you check that out, and we can offer that sort of support there in that Discord. So check out the different tiers. Basically, you've got the first tier is just your supporter. The second tier gets you limited access to the Discord and the community. The next tier is Team Exalted. That gets you expanded access and available one-on-one coaching. And then the final tier is your inner circle, and that gives you in-depth one-on-one video calls, tabletop simulator, coaching, training, that sort of stuff. So yes, there is, in the Patreon, there is a ton of content tailored towards the individuals. Now, there's one thing worth noting whilst talking about the Patreon, is that I will never put my videos behind a paywall. I don't believe in it. Not begrudging anybody who does that, but I never set out to turn this into a business, and I don't want to turn it into a business, because I find that the second you turn your hobby or your passion and you make it a business, well, now it's an obligation, and now you have to do it, and therefore you have to do it when you don't want to, and then you develop these negative associations between the hobby and your financial situation, and then all of a sudden you start trying to come up with schemes and ways that you can milk people for more money, and it becomes toxic and it just ruins everything. So I don't want to turn this into a business, and that is not my intent whatsoever. Everything that I do in terms of monetization is all about making sure that I'm able to continue providing things to you guys. So for example, the Exalted store, I'm not looking to make a ton of money off of the sale of items on there. I'm basically trying to do this so that you guys can share in this brand and share in this journey with me by having that merchandise, and also that I can take some of the money raised from that and funnel it back into making sure that I can continue to do this hobby that I enjoy. It's not about making profit. And part of that goes the philosophy of never putting my stuff behind a paywall. The whole point of this channel is that I want to share with you guys. So if I'm putting something behind a paywall where you now can't access it unless you give me money, that defeats the purpose. I'm no longer sharing with you guys, right? So basically the idea is that nothing will be behind paywall. The Patreon will be exclusively to gain access to the Discord community, so that we can do coaching and things like that. But all of the content itself will be free and publicly accessible. So to answer your question, yes, there will be a beginners section in there. It won't be a section, so to speak, but it will be very beginner friendly. And part of the beautiful thing about a community like this is because it'll be relatively small, it won't be like one of those massive communities with thousands and thousands of people in it, is you can jump in there and ask a question and people will help you out because we're part of the same like-minded community. Whereas those bigger ones, I tend to find that people are not quite as helpful, and they're not as interested in having conversations with beginners. There's like a sort of an elitism to it. That won't be the case here. This Discord community will be designed to be very beginner friendly. It's also going to be a ton of fun because I'm not going to be putting moderators in there, and it's going to be, memes and zings and banter will be pretty much open slather. So we're going to have a ton of fun in there. It'll be kind of like just a Discord with a bunch of your mates. That's the vibe that I'm going for. So next, speaking of that Patreon, just once again reminding you guys that I will be giving away a ton of merchandise to a random selection of people who have signed up to that Patreon. So if you want to get involved and you want to get some swag, jump in, because by the end of this video, if only one person signed up, well, they're getting it all. So we'll see how many people jump in and take up the offer. And it's worth noting that you can jump in, and then jump back out. It'll charge you for that first month, but you can jump in for the $5 supporter tier. That gets you a ticket into the entry, and then you can immediately cancel it. No harm, no foul, and it gives you that opportunity to win one of these exciting things. But I think once you sign up, if you sign up for that $20 a month tier, which gains you access to the Discord server, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised and you'll want to stick around, because we'll have a ton of fun in there, and I think that's going to be really, really exciting. So reminder on that. Next couple of questions. So these are all the pre-submitted questions in the lead up to this live stream. Ever since I had the 15,000 subscriber mark, I've had people submitting questions. So this next one is, just watch your behind the scenes, behind the studios with some amazing models. Do you still get the Brass Scorpion, Blood Slaughter, etc. sometimes on the table? Would be interesting to get some fun list ideas with legends or general ideas on how to incorporate into gaming. Little less competitive, but as long as the stats are available, I want to put them on the table. So the answer to your question is no. I don't often get the Brass Scorpions and the Blood Slaughters out, because most of the tournaments that I attend are match play, and most of the practice that I do is preparing for an upcoming tournament, which is going to be match play. So I don't often get them out. However, once a year I do a big apocalypse game, and I love getting them out for that. And then also, once a year, there's a tournament in Melbourne, or it's in Geelong, which is a town sort of just outside of Melbourne. And it is, it's called Geelong Heresy, and it's a 40k event, but they allow 3,000 point armies instead of 2,000 point. They allow rule of 4 instead of rule of 3, and they allow legends. So basically, every year I attend that tournament, and I use that as my opportunity to get those legend models on the table in a tournament setting. So that's a really, really cool tournament, and I wish more of these existed around the world. Yeah, that's a ton of fun getting those models out for those games. So next is how to get ready for a competitive tournament and how to use a chess clock in 40k. Now, I did a video a while ago about chess clocks, so it might be worth scrolling back through and seeing if you can find it. But I did a video talking about chess clocks for a couple of hours. But basically, chess clocks are a sort of a mandatory component of the higher end competitive game. And I recommend it even for that more entry level stuff, because it simultaneously protects you from your opponent slow playing, because you've got the clock to manage people's time. But it also teaches you how to be faster with your decisions, teaches you how to trust your gut, because you're not going to spend, a billion years deliberating on each question, because you see your clock ticking down and you go, oh shit, I better make a quick decision. And it also prevents your opponent from going around and complaining that you took up more time than them and that they would have won had they got more time, and blah, blah, blah. If you have a chess clock in there, it's just really, really simple. And they're really quite easy to use. I know when I was first introduced to them, I did not like them at all. And I'll be honest, I was a little intimidated by them. I didn't enjoy playing on them because I was worried that I was going to fuck it up, right? And they're really easy to fuck up, right? But when you have a better understanding of how they work, and also a deeper understanding of chess clock etiquette, you realize that they're not as scary as they sound. And basically what you do is you just set the chess clock to be an hour and a half per player if you're playing a 3-hour round. I generally set it for an hour 20 per player, which then gives us 20 minutes to meet each other, talk about our lists, set up the table, make sure the table's all good, have a little bit of a yarn, get to know each other before we start playing. I don't like hitting the table and immediately going, boom, clock's on, let's go. I like to sort of do that social part first. So I set it for an hour 20 each for a 3-hour round. And then basically all you do is you just press play and it'll start counting down on one person's time while they're moving their stuff, while they're shooting, while they're doing all this sort of stuff. And then when they're done, they hit the paddle and that ticks it over to you and you start doing your stuff. And then when you're done, you hit the paddle, you tick it over to them. You basically just do that back and forth. Really, really simple. The only time it gets a little bit more complex is when you're going into somebody who's got some complex rules, or they're making sort of a complex decision during your turn. So let's say you've got, your Khorne Berserkers, you go and you're like, cool, this unit has like almost 100 attacks, this big 20-man Berserker unit, you roll out all your hits, you roll out all your humans, and you go, cool, here's 70 dice, these are your saves. You might want to tick the clock onto them while they roll their saves, because they're going to roll them, then they're going to roll their feel no pains, and then they're potentially going to be like trying to decide where to remove casualties from, which casualties do I want to remove, where do I want to allocate the wounds, do I want to put them all on here, or do I want to, all of that sort of stuff can take a lot of time. So you might, in your turn, flick the paddle over to them while they resolve their saves, and then once they've finished resolving their saves, they flick it back to you. Or, for example, you might finish your movement phase and then flick the paddle to them and say, would you like to rapid ingress? And they might think about that for 5 minutes and then make their decision and then set up their models and then flick it back to you. So it's not purely like your turn, the clock's on you, their clock, the clock's on them. That's a good place to start. But then you sort of work in, you'll start to learn, well, my opponent's taking a long time with this decision, which is preventing me from finishing my turn. I'm going to put the clock on them. So yeah, chess clocks, just grab one, get familiar with it at home, just like turning it on, setting the time, flipping the paddles, just get familiar with the piece of technology, and then just start using it. Even in practice games, just use it. And you don't necessarily have to death clock your opponent every time. Like, you might be generous with your time and be like, you know what, you've clocked out, but there's still 15 minutes left in the round. We're in turn 5. Let's just finish the game, right? You don't have to be too strict with the clock, but I think it's a very important tool to have with you when you are attending tournaments. But that's only one of the ways that you can get ready for a tournament. There's tons of things that you want to do when preparing for a tournament. And that's the sort of stuff that I'll be covering in great detail in the beginner side of that Patreon, where we'll be talking, getting people prepared for their first tournaments, that sort of stuff. But I'd say the first thing to do, or the most important thing to do when getting ready for a tournament, is to just have an open mind and a positive attitude. If you go in with those two things, you will have a successful first tournament. You just will. If you go in and if you go in and you're worried and you're stressed and you're anxious, and then you get an opponent and your opponent's not very nice, and then that tilts you, you can have a horrible tournament. But if you go in with that open mind, you'll have a ton of fun, because as soon as your opponent starts being a dick, you'll be like, yeah, whatever, mate. Like, it's water off a duck's back, because I'm just here to have fun. And then once you sort of get more comfortable and confident, that's when you can start sort of going, okay, well, now I'm going to start taking this seriously, and I'm going to start putting a little bit more pressure on myself, and I'm going to start putting a bit more expectations on myself. That's the sort of the next step. But your first port of call should be to just go into the tournament with an open mind and optimistic outlook. Next, from Tim JZ, are you ever coming to the US for a major tournament? Absolutely, I really want to. One of the things that's been limiting me at the moment is that I have a very, very senior dog. He's 17 years old, and he's pretty much requires constant care. He can't walk up the stairs, he can't walk on the lino floors because he just slips over all the time, so we have to carry him around. He's good to go when he's outside, he walks on the grass and whatever, and he's a happy boy, but he requires a lot of care. And also, over the last 6 months, he's had like 5 serious health concerns, where he's basically had near-death situations consistently, lots of surgeries, lots of just a lot of work there. And I just can't bring myself to go to America and leave him with my wife and tell her, well, you got to care for the dog, like while I go play Warhammer with my American friends. So it's definitely something that I look forward to doing and I want to do, but it's all about priorities at the moment, and I just need to time it right. So it's something that I will be looking forward to doing in the future, but unfortunately at this stage, I'm not really able to, which is one of the reasons why I've never aggressively pursued a golden pass to Atlanta, because even if I got one, I can't go. And it's one of the reasons why even just attending the WTC has been a very challenging sort of thing, because it requires me to be away from home for extended periods of time. So I do desperately want to attend major US tournaments, but at this stage, yeah. We will see what we can do. And I've also had a ton of people reach out and offer me accommodation and things like that, which I deeply appreciate. And I really would love an opportunity to meet some of you. Most of the people that watch this channel are in the United States, so I would love to do that. It's just a matter of finding time what I might actually try to do at some stage in the future is reach out to a tournament organizer and ask if they would be interested in me hosting like a live seminar or something like that at their tournaments, or doing a live thing, or maybe organizing for a dinner or something like that on one of the nights, so that anybody who wants to come and meet me and meet me in person and hang out can do so. That would be something really, really cool, because if I'm going to be there, it would be really nice to get to know you guys in person. Okay, cool. Back to the giveaway again. So just a reminder, exalted40k.com is where you want to go. There is a pinned comment at the top there, which you can go and click on. That'll get you straight to the Exalted 40k website. If you click on the community section, that'll take you through to our Patreon. Join that, and there's going to be 4 prizes given away to 4 lucky people that have signed up to that Patreon. So at the start of this video, there was nobody on that Patreon because it was brand new and no one knew it existed. So we'll see how many people sign up before the end. And then basically one of them is going to receive a show bag, which is going to contain one of each of the Exalted 40k items. And then 3 other winners are going to receive a box of 10 Terminators. So this is a really, really exciting opportunity. So please head over, join those tiers, get involved, and if you join the $20 tier, that's going to immediately get you access to the Patreon, the Discord server, and starting immediately after this video, we're going to be talking a bunch of shit in there, talking about lists, talking about upcoming events, sharing memes, banter, hobby updates, tons of really cool stuff in there. And if you join one of the bigger ones, the $50 or $100 tiers, we can start coaching immediately. Whether that's you've got an event coming up, maybe you're at an event this weekend and you want to talk about the next round of games, we can do that all in that Discord on the various different tiers. So have a look at the different options available, pick whichever one's suitable to you, and everybody who does that will automatically be entered into the draw, which we're going to draw at the end of this video, and see who wins. So that's going to be really cool. Next question, I think this is the last question that we have from the pre-submitted, and it's a 3-part question. So Kaylin Simpson. So question 1, does the 8-band aura also apply to themselves? Yes, it does. All auras apply to the models themselves because they project an aura within a certain range, and they are within that range themselves. So yes. 2, I'm usually hesitant and don't use Khan's unit until turn 3 due to the cost of Khan, the Rhino, the Berserkers as a whole. This leads to his unit usually surviving the game, but potentially missing out on the value add in earlier rounds, especially with their large movement in Warband. Should I be more aggressive with them round 1 and round 2? So the answer to that question is going to depend heavily on your opponent and the game state and a lot of factors. So it's very hard to give broad advice here. I would almost say it's universal that you don't use him in round 1. Because generally in round 1, your opponent's going to present soft targets. And one of the keys to success in 40k is that you need to, when they present a soft target, you need to kill it with a soft target and save your hard targets for their hard targets. If you send Khan and his Berserkers out to kill 5 scouts off the middle, and then your opponent blows that whole brick up, you've wasted it, right? And you've clearly identified this by saving it until later in the game. However, Berserkers do present a unique challenge for your opponent in that if you do use them in the middle of the game, they can blood surge into things, which is really, really effective. So you want your opponent to engage with them to some extent. They're also really effective at fighting on death. If you're playing against like Eldar or something like that, you can jump out, like kill their Fire Dragons and their Wave Serpent, and then activate Fight on Death. And then when they send their Banshees in to kill you in combat, you fight on death and you kill out half the Banshees as well. So you can use the Berserkers earlier. It's all about modulating when to use those tools and for what purpose. So it also depends on what else is in your army, what's in your opponent's army. So it's very hard to give that general advice, but I would say that round 1 and 2 is often not when you want to use them. I almost always bring them out round 3 or 4. The next question is, my 1,000-point games are taking 4 hours. How do I get more efficient with time? I've played probably 15 games of 10th edition. Well, the first thing to do is play more games of 10th edition. The more you play, the faster you will get. The next one is to use a chess clock. Now, the reason that you want to use chess clocks, even in practice games, is because you will very rapidly notice that the main thing that is costing you time is thinking. This is the main thing that I see people do, is they sit there in their turn and they're like, what do I want to do? Do I want to send Khan out now, or do I want to hold Khan? And they'll think about it. And meanwhile, 15 minutes goes by, and they don't even realize it, because in their head they're having this like robust conversation with themselves trying to solve this challenge. They don't really think about how much time has just passed. And then they get to the next turn and then they realize, hang on, it's turn 3 and we've only got 20 minutes left in the round. What the fuck? How did that happen? Or they'll get to turn 5 and they're like, have we been playing for 5 hours? Like, that's one of the main things that I think saps people's time. So there's a few things you can do to work with that. One of them is to pre-package your decisions. So you might go, cool, I'm taking Khan Berserkers in a Rhino. I will always deploy them in the L-shaped ruin that's closest to the front of my deployment zone, whilst being hidden. That's always where they'll go, and they will just stay there until turn 3. Right? If you make that pre-packaged decision, you then know that you just don't think about that unit until turn 3. Or you'll be like, cool, I'm going to have my Exalted 8-bound. They will rapid ingress on either turn 2 or 3 if there's an opportunity. And then you just have them sitting off the side. You don't have to think too much about it. You don't have to think, do I want to, when do I want to, how am I going to? Because you just have that already done, right? So if you can pre-package decisions and pre-make them, you can then modify those decisions if you need to, but having them made in advance is going to speed up your game plan. And then the other one that you can do is just trust yourself. I think a lot of the time what happens is people will make a decision and then they'll second guess themselves, and then that second guessing themselves really slows them down. And often you'll find that the decision you end up landing on was your first decision, and what actually happened was you made a good decision, you then doubted yourself, you then had to try to convince yourself out of that good decision, but because it was the good decision, you ended up having that battle in your mind of the two different ideas, and you ended up landing on the right decision anyway, that you should have just trusted yourself at the start, and you've just wasted 15 minutes that you didn't need to waste. So that happens a ton as well, and that you'll get better at that over time, but only if you're aware of it. If you just play practice games over and over and over, you'll always take 4 hours. If you don't have that sort of guidance to understand how to prioritize the speed and how to prioritize those sorts of things, you won't improve. So that's one of the things that I would say to focus on, is pre-packaging your decisions and trusting your instincts. And your instincts, even if they're wrong, you'll then get that feedback and you'll know that they were wrong. And then next time when you go to make a decision, trust your instincts on that one as well. And that's how you refine your instincts. If you trust your instincts, you verify them by playing your game and testing if it worked or if it didn't. And then you take that feedback on, and then you go play another game and you trust your instincts there. Whereas if you're constantly second guessing your instincts, you're actually not developing robust instincts. So it's really important to play lots of games, as many as you can, and trusting your instincts, getting that feedback is a really, really good way to approach the game. And that's everything that we have. So I'm just going to take a really brief break. I'm going to play the announcement video for you guys again, and then we're going to go through your live comments. So just a reminder, if you've got a comment, you want to ask it, if you use the donation button, it'll highlight the comment for me and I'll know to go and read it. That's to save us reading through, the hundreds of comments that are in here, because I don't want to bore you guys while I read through every comment. And that way it'll make sure that your questions get asked. But with that being said, we're going to take a quick break and I'll chuck this video back up for you. Alrighty, guys. So that is my very brief break. Now let's get stuck into some questions. So I can see there's a ton in here. I'm just going to scroll to the top. I wonder if I can overlay that. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm just going to see whether this is even possible to do. No, it doesn't appear so. I'm not sure. I'm still obviously learning this YouTube stuff. I wonder if there's a way that I can get the comments from this video on this video. I'll have a look. If anyone knows, let me know. But I'll have a dig and see what I can dig up. So, what do we got here? Greetings from Mexico. Congratulations on the 15K. Thank you very much. Y'all doing Glaive Slaughterbound now? Absolutely. He's tons of fun. He's really, really powerful. Put him in a unit of Exalted 8 bound, and he's going to rip things apart. We've got a bunch of people saying, "G'day." 80-man Zerks. Would have been nice if their points dropped. Yeah, I actually feel that the Khorne Berserkers probably should have dropped. Not a lot, but the 20-man I feel is a bit rich. 360 points for 20 Berserkers is a bit much. They're obviously very good. I'm not saying that they're, not good, but very expensive and very easy to kill. So, yeah, Glaive Slaughterbound is the new ruler. Absolutely. Thunder from Down Under. Hey, mate. G'day. How we going? They took our spawn. I don't believe they did. 10 points extra for a unit spawn is not that big of a deal. I discussed this in depth in my review of the Data Slate video that I did earlier today, the live stream, but I think the spawn is still really, really good. I think they're fantastic. So they went up 10 points, but they were so criminally undercosted. They're easily worth 90 points. Why must the blood flow from my tears with Khan going back up to 100 points? I again think that Khan going up to 100 points is completely reasonable. Him at 85 points was criminal. He was way too cheap. He's very, very good. And I'm of the opinion that I would rather my unique heroes be expensive and good than cheap and bad. I want my Master of Executions to be cheap and bad, and I want my characters like Khan to be fucking mental, right? I would love to see Khan at like 160 points and be like Lucius, where he's like, give him 3 damage on Gorechild and give him AP 3 and give him strength 12 and like make Gorechild fucking terrifying as a weapon, make it so that he's got 12 attacks, but every time he rolls a 1, it hits a friendly model or something. Like, make Khan just terrifying. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see a cheap 85 point Khan that I throw away to kill scouts, because Khan means nothing to me. Which, to be fair, that is a very Khorne way of wielding Khan, and I'm sure he wouldn't care. But I don't mind Khan going up to 100 points. Congrats on the 15K. Thank you very much. The stream is severely lacking in skulls. So, interestingly, that stack of skulls... Where are we? There we go. Yeah, I was planning on basically covering that whole section of that desk with skulls. But then I decided to go with this, the LED stripping, because I thought that looked cool. But part of this new rebrand is that we're going to look at potentially doing a remodel of the studio. And I'm going to look at getting like some couches installed so that I can have people over for that style of conversation, more conversational podcast style stuff. I'm looking at a few different things, so there will be some rearranging of this, and I will ensure that I include some skulls for you, my friend. Yeah, my boy Khan got nerfed, but he's still an auto take for me. I completely agree. Even back when he was 105, 115, yep. Is Angron back on the menu? I discussed this again in the stream I did earlier today, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I do not think Angron is back on the menu. I think that previously, before this recent update, the only thing that made Angron relevant was that he was one of the unique solutions to vehicles. You had Angron and Maulafines, and outside of that, almost all the world just sucked at killing vehicles. So the only justification for taking Angron was that you were teching for a vehicle matchup. But now, yes, Angron went down in points, so that might make you think he's back on the menu. But because Exalted 8-bound also went down in points, and also got +1 damage against monsters and vehicles, we now don't need Angron to attack that vehicle problem. We've got the Exalted 8-bound with the Slaughterbound attached, so sorry Angron, you're back on the shelf. And I think in order for Angron to come off the shelf, he needs to get a data slate update like what the Exalted 8-bound got, where they change one of his rules. And I think the simplest one for them to give him is just let Angron move through walls. If you allow Angron to move through walls, all of a sudden, he's fast, he's a serious threat. It doesn't give him the kind of speed that allows him to charge something on the opposite side of the board, so he's not like ridiculously fast, but it just means that he's not going to get stuck behind walls and not able to charge things. He'd be able to just go, cool, he can move through walls like a knight, and now you're off to the races. Now Angron would be really, really exciting. But unfortunately, not at this stage. People saying that they reckon he's back on the board. People talking about Chaos Knights and War Dogs. This is one video that I've got planned that I'm working on at the moment. It's talking about Chaos Knights as allies for the World Eaters and how good they are, because there's some really cool stuff there. Land Raider with a 20-point drop, maybe over a Forge Fiend that went up 20 points. I agree. I think the Land Raider is very interesting now because it's way tougher than a Forge Fiend. It shoots very, very well. It's got 8 las cannon shots, which is pretty good. Plus the heavy bolter shots, and also the transport capacity. Depending on which detachment you take it in, Gortrak, that Land Raider is really, really good. And if you take it in one of the other detachments using the Exalted 8-bound using it as a delivery system for the Exalted 8-bound, that's really, really good as well. I went through a ton of different case uses for the Land Raider in that previous video. Hopefully you don't have to drink the dirty paint water anymore, but yes, I know, it's my fault. That's good. You've earned it, man. Thanks, the content has helped me so much. That's, what's his name? 93. Yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad you've enjoyed the content and that it's helped you. And that is what I set out to do with the channel from the get-go, so it's really good to hear that that's being well received. What else have we got in here? Beast mode on the road. No questions here. I'm just bitchy. That's good. What about Angron's aura? Every model in 12 inches in the cabinet will be free of dust. What about the new Angron aura? Every model at 12 inches in the cabinet will be free of dust. I don't fully understand that comment. I think Angron getting new auras would potentially help him. We got Jimmy Bo Fosho, #1 World Eaters Boss Man. Thank you very much. Deadly Demise, roll for D6 for damage. Glory to the Exalted, hype to get them on the table against I Miss My Chainsaw Fisted Models, blog for the Blood God. Yep. The Exalted 8-bound, getting them back on the table is something I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy, because it's one of the defining units of the faction, and people have definitely missed them, so that's really good. I agree. He's got Beast Mode on the road. He's got a tournament next Saturday. He's got some painting to do. That's cool. Maybe if you join the new Patreon, we can share those painting updates and prepare for that tournament together. That'd be really cool. What else have we got in here? AJ Armstrong, sigh, takes out my wallet. Just take it. Very good. I want the blessings marker. I personally think that this one here, this is the coolest item in the new range. The blessings tracker that is also a chain axe. The amount of people that I've shown this prototype to that don't even play World Eaters that are like, that's fucking cool. So I think they're going to go very fast. And it's unsure whether or not I'll be replacing the stock. So if you want one, get in fast, because there was a lot of dicking around to try to get these. So I may not be replacing them. I've got like 30 odd of these ones, so grab them while they're around. But the axes, I think I only got like 20 of them, 24 or something like that. And yeah, they may not be coming back. So if you want those blessings trackers, get stuck in. What else have we got? We've got exciting times ahead from STFU Dance. Yes, I agree. Very exciting times, and I'm really looking forward to this. Like, I'm going to be continuing to develop this channel with you guys going forward, and part of this rebrand is sort of creating that Team Exalted community that can really help drive the channel even further. Because there's only so much I can do as a one-man guy, but having a community that I can bounce my ideas off of and work with to create content tailored for that community is one of the parts I'm the most excited for. Love the rebrand, thank you. Looks great. I smell a GW cease and desist order. So I'm supremely confident that they cannot cease and desist me on this. Like, this logo is not that's not Games Workshop intellectual property. There's no way. That word Exalted, they do not own that. And I'm making sure that I'm not selling 3D prints or anything like that. So I don't think they will be able to get me again. But they did hit me pretty hard and took down a lot of my stuff. So, which, again, I'm not necessarily going to get into the moral or legal, waters here, but I kind of get it in that that there's a potential that people were buying my stuff and not theirs, and I was in theory profiting off of their intellectual property, which is not something they want. But like, if they want to go down that route, I shouldn't be making any money off of this video, because if it wasn't for Warhammer, I wouldn't be making it. I am profiting from this video, and it is off of the back of their intellectual property. But it's like, if they're going to shut down all of that sort of stuff, they're actually just going to kill their brand. People like me help make Warhammer accessible for people so that they can buy GW's products. So I'm helping GW. I'm partly responsible for a lot of their sales. Like, obviously, I'm not trying to claim that I'm one of the reasons GW is successful, but I do direct a lot of people to GW to buy models. I help people write lists. I give them advice on what models to buy, and then they go and buy them. Like, I help GW. So if they come at me with another cease and desist, I'm going to be very disheartened. But I don't think they will. What else have we got in here? New content sounds awesome. Thank you very much. We've got Liam saying, hey, dude. Missing active World Eater channel like DG have. Think it's a massive faction for the faction. What? Missing active World Eaters channel like Death Guard have. Think it's massive for the faction. I'm not sure what that comment is referencing, but having a dedicated World Eaters channel has been. We've got multiple actually. Like, we've got the Red Path guys, we got myself. Art of War do a lot of World Eaters stuff as well. So we've got plenty of stuff. Liam said he'd love to see some painting guides from you, which is something that I'm working on at the moment with the Army Painter. Is getting a sort of a suggested paint range for my sort of method of painting, and then doing some tutorial videos and stuff like that. So I'm working on some stuff there. Mo Sati says, I like the quality of the new t-shirts too, looks better. Wait until you see what I've got coming. I've got some truly awesome t-shirt designs coming, where we've got, like, these ones just a plain black t-shirt with the logo on the front. I've got some really, really spicy stuff coming. I think you're going to be very happy, and they will go up on the store when they arrive. Next, we've got D. Crombie. I really enjoy your tips and tricks videos, like the Hellbrute Masterclass. Absolutely, and that's something that I'm looking to do more of going forward, is creating those videos where I get models out on the table and showcase specific tips and tricks, and that will be done at the behest of people in that Team Exalted Discord. So things that they want to understand better, I will go out and make a video for them and then chuck it up here for everyone. So if there's something specific that you want to understand, like maybe it's Heroic Intervention Masterclass, or Command Point Interrupt Masterclass, or maybe it's not even a combat related thing, maybe it's just a list writing masterclass, or transport of like a rhino. I'm looking to do a rhino masterclass because it's been a while since I've done that, and there's a ton of cool tricks you can do with rhinos. I like the quality of these new shirts. That was better. I just read that one. What do we got? DBZ Dragon. Battle reports against a broad range of factions and armies would be super helpful. I've lost games against other players because I don't know the faction and who the player in my area is. So absolutely, I will be looking to do battle reports against a wide range of different people and different factions, which is really, really exciting because it allows me to sort of include things for other people, not just World Eaters players. So that's really, really cool. I'm also going to be doing some deep dives on factions from the perspective of World Eaters and Chaos Space Marine players. So, what do you need to know as a World Eaters player to beat Eldar? What do you need to know as a World Eaters player to beat Votan? That sort of stuff. So, that's all coming, and I think you'll really appreciate that. So what else have we got here? Only Homer, awesome man. Ben Wads, $3 super chat, so thank you for that, Ben. Love the new branding. Streaming list writing sounds great. 35 USD monthly. That must be for the Team Exalted tier, I'm assuming, because that's the $50 Australian one. So the streaming, the list writing, I think that's going to be a ton of fun, where basically we'll get 2 or 3 people on and we'll just go, cool guys, let's write a list, let's have a dig around this detachment and chuck in some stuff and then chop things out and talk about the why and the how we write the list. It's going to be pretty cool. Then we got the pin. I'd become a close friendship for the low price of $100 dues a month. You want to come to KY, stay on my property. We got cookies and banjos. Absolutely. That inner circle tier is something that it sounds pretentious, thinking that I'm going to sell my friendship, but basically I want it to be something that if you're going to be in that tier, I want committed people that are in there for a purpose. They want to develop, they want to improve, because those are the type of people that I enjoy. Those are the type of people that I want to be friends with. So it's not like you get to pay for my friendship and I'll be fake and I'll pretend to be your friend. It's like if you join that tier, you're demonstrating that you are the kind of person that I will be friendly with, So that's what that's like, and I really do think that that's going to be really interesting, and people are going to get a lot of value out of that. What do the termies look like? They're all boxed up at the moment, so I can't really show you. If you look at... I did a bunch of posts on my Facebook page. I did a bunch of posts on my Etsy store. I wonder if, actually... Can I... Let me have a look-see here. If I can go into my old listings, sold out listings. No, inactive listings. There we go. And then if I... Oh, you can see the intellectual property claim against me there. But if I pull this up, you can sort of see it there. So, might be a bit small on the screen there, but that's what the Terminators look like. And that's a squad of them. So you can see there's the 2 autocannon guys with autocannon chain fist. Then there's the 2 guys with twin curse weapons with they got like power axes there as curse weapons, and then a bunch of guys with power fists and stuff. So that's the Terminators. That's what they look like, and they come. Let's see if we can do this. That doesn't really show up very well on the screen there, but that's what they look like. And there's a video here as well. So you can see that that's the guy with the axes. And then I think it's going to change over here. Yep, there you go. There's a guy with the power fist and the combi bolter. Now, these guys all have combi weapons, I should say, not combi bolters. But if you don't like those, it's very easy to clip that melter gun barrel off, and then you've got a combi bolter, if that's your preferred weapon loadout. But yeah, that's the That's what the Terminators look like, the ones that are going to be given away at the end of this video. Who we got here? We got DBZ Dragon saying $100 is cheap for friendship. Yeah, I'd say so. You know, no, I don't think anybody should have to buy friendship. Like, it seems odd and it seems weird. But like I said, if you pay that $100, you're demonstrating to me that you're the kind of person that's committed to getting engaged and developing, and that you're not just going to jump in there and fuck around and waste everybody's time, because that's part of what, you know, the entry level for that tier is. And then because you're not fucking around and wasting everyone's time, I'm going to put a lot of effort in, is the idea there. Team Exalted, nice, welcome. Dice are sick, gonna have to get me some. Yeah, the dice are really amazing. I can't wait for the delivery to arrive with all of them, so I can roll a couple of thousand of them at once, pick out all the sixes, put them in my personal dice bag, and then sell all you guys the ones. Just joking. Cool. One drop of Dean's blood free with each hand-stitched dice bag. Yeah, it's... I was talking to my missus about the dice bags, and I was like, I wonder if you can buy, you know, cotton dice bags that I could print, like screen print onto myself, instead of trying to go through an expensive third-party manufacturer. And she's like, why don't you just make them? And I was like, make dice bags? Like, what? And she's like, it's really fucking easy. And I'm like, but it's like haberdashery. It's like sewing. Like, I'm not going to be fucking sewing. And she's just like, shut up, and she's going to show me how to do it. And then she offered to do it for me, but I was like, I'm not interested in turning my wife into the manufacturing arm of my YouTube channel. So I'm like, I'll do it. Show me how to drive the fucking machine, and then I'll do it. So we'll see. Hopefully I can manufacture high quality ones. If they turn out shit quality, I won't put them on the store, and I'll purchase some blank ones. But yeah, I'm toying with the idea of manufacturing them myself, so that I can get them out to you guys dirt cheap. Because if it's an hour of my time and, you know, $5 worth of material, I'll be able to sell them way cheaper than if I'm buying them at, you know, wholesale prices. So, thrown darts into blood bags, classic way to determine winners for corn. Ooh, that's not bad. Yeah, I've got to try to figure out what's my method for determining who the winner of these prize giveaways is. And it'll depend on how many people end up signing up. I might roll dice. I might end up having to put everybody's name into a list and then doing a randomizer. I'll find one online or something like that. There's a few different ways that we could do it. It'll depend on how many people sign up, I guess. I didn't win one game with those old dice. Well, trust me, these new dice are way better. So hopefully that helps. Red Butchers in the next kill team, please. That would be very cool. Even if they just did a unit of 5, you know, and then you just buy 2 units of 5 if you wanted to build a full squad, because obviously 10 Terminators in a kill team box is pretty brutal, but that would be very cool. That being said, the World Eaters did just get a kill team box with the Goremongers, which personally I was disappointed in. I mean, very cool models and also very good in the game. Like, being able to have an infiltrating unit when you have so many scouting units is really good. Having the reactive move on them is also really good, because you can, like, start off of an objective, reactive move onto the objective, and then when they kill you, you can sticky it, and that doesn't give up things like overwhelming force because you didn't start the turn on the objective, but you move onto the objective with your reactive move. So there's tons of really cool stuff the unit can do. I'm just not a huge fan of the models because they're kind of just like jackals with longer legs, which is, I get that's the point, but it doesn't really feel new and unique and cool. And also, I'm a Chaos Space Marine player. Like, a World Eaters are Chaos Space Marines. I don't want more mortal thralls. I want more Chaos Space Marines. So bring me some Red Butchers. Bring me some Berserkers with jump packs. You know, that sort of stuff. Or Berserker Bikers. Yeah, that's a great point, Crombie. Berserker Bikers would be fantastic. What else have we got here? Big no to Twitter from Beast Mode on the Road, so not a fan of the old Twitter. That's, you know, part of the reason why I've never gone on there is because I don't really use Twitter. You know, so I'm more of just a YouTube, Facebook boomer. But, you know, I'm looking to expand to try to make sure that I'm reaching as many people as possible, and there are a lot of people on Twitter. You know, So it's somewhere I'm considering. So AJ Armstrong is tell me what beer my $5 are going towards. That's all I ask. All right. Well, what I'll do is once a month I'll post a video of me drinking a beer, and that'll be to everybody who chipped in. But it'll most likely be a Jack Daniels because I'm an absolute fiend for a Jack and Coke, especially these double Jacks. They're my poison. So now what do we got? Respectable, cheers. Blood for the Blood God. Skulls for the Skull Throne, thank you. What is going to happen to Angron now that we are taking him back as daddy, or is he still out getting milk? Unfortunately, he has not returned from getting a pack of cigarettes. So, Beast Mode on the Road is saying ew to 8th edition. That's obviously in response to when somebody asked me what my favorite edition was, and he's saying 5th was gold. I think 3rd edition was when I first started playing the game. I'd been a collector for a while. 3rd edition was when I was first old enough to sort of understand how to play the game. Me and a couple of mates started playing around then, and I think 5th was the first time that I'd ever started taking it sort of more, not competitive, like not attending tournaments or anything like that. I think my first tournament was 6th edition. But 5th was very good. I think those older editions, though, you look back at them with rose-colored glasses. Like I've got all the books here, and every now and then I'll crack out one of the old books and read it, and I'll be like, "This is just rubbish. This game is rubbish." I think we remember them fondly, but if we were to pick them up tomorrow, we'd be like, "10th is so much better." What else we got? Looking forward to all the new content. Are live streamed battle reports a possibility in the future? So there's another channel that's local that has done live stream battle reports in the past, and it just didn't work, and that was largely due to the time zones. Here in Australia, like it's 2 a.m. right now, you know, and this is prime time for doing live content, but it's 2 a.m. Like I can't expect somebody to come over and stay up till 2 a.m. doing a battle report with me. So I don't think live battle reports are really going to be on the cards at all. It'll be more your pre-recorded, edited, clipped together battle reports is what we'll be looking to do. Are you going to offer one-on-one coaching sessions? Absolutely. As per the check out the Discord, the Patreon. That's got all the information there. What else we got? Really value your videos where you demonstrate how to get past fights first and the like. I think that's my favorite content to produce. Those high level tactics that you can deploy in your games and giving you demonstrations. That's the part that I enjoy the most. So I'm glad you guys enjoy that. Keen for battle reports. We need raptors and bikers. What else we got? Is there a link to the Patreon yet? It's at the top of the video. Blood Angels say blood for the regular god. No, they say blood for the emperor. Greetings from an Italian follower as well. G'day Astwen. Welcome. G'day from Sweden. So we've got a few international people in here, which is good to see. What else we got here? 30k sculpt is beautiful for Land Raiders. Yeah, the Icarus pattern do a really, really good mod kit for your Land Raiders that makes it look really, really cool. So if you're interested in getting Land Raiders and trying out Goretrack, that's where you want to go. What else we got? How do you usually deploy your World Eater's army with a potential turn 1 rush or not? Seems to be hard to hide all the important models. I got shot as World Eaters more of that when I'm playing other armies. I'm assuming you mean more than when you were playing other armies. So my deployment philosophy, and this is I was talking earlier about how to speed up the game. My deployment philosophy is you deploy everything as far forward as you possibly can, but not exposed to your opponent. You never put anything exposed. So if there's one ruin at the front, you put as much stuff as you can in there. Anything that you can't fit in that ruin gets deployed somewhere else, right? You've got to hide everything else. So never expose things in that first turn. So you want to play as aggressively as possible. You want to posture as aggressively as possible, but you don't want to expose things unnecessarily. But yeah, essentially, like this is going to depend heavily on your opponent, depending on the map, depending on the mission, depending on your list, depending on there's so many variables to consider. But generally speaking, the philosophy is you look at the table, you identify the areas where you can hide that are as far forward as possible. You put as much in those areas as you can, and then everything else hides. One of the things that I like to do is when I rock up to the table, if we're playing with chess clocks and we're deploying on the clock, I'll be like, yep, put the clock on me. You can go take a seat. I'm just going to place some models to work out my spacing, right? And then basically what I do is I place all of my models roughly where I plan to deploy them and see what can fit where. And then I use that to make my decision on what I'm going to put into strategic reserves. Because I'll be like, oh, cool. I actually can't fit 2 Forge Fiends behind this ruin. So I'm actually going to have to put both Forge Fiends in reserves and only deploy one of them on the table. Or I might not be able to fit all of my spawn or something like that. So you can use that to sort of figure out your spacing. And then you go, cool, now that I've made my decision, I'm going to move those models back, put the clock onto you, and now let's start deploying back and forth. So that's a neat little trick that you can use when trying to deploy your army so that you're not getting in those situations where you go to deploy something and you're like, oh, I actually can't fit it anywhere. Fuck, but I didn't put it in reserves, so now I just have to kind of put it out in the open, and then it just dies. If you use that opportunity to just give yourself 2 to 3 minutes to quickly work out your spacing, it can make your life a lot easier. Question here is, are you going to be just changing the name of the Facebook page or starting a new one? I'm not sure how that stuff works. So it'll just change the name and then change the logo. Same with the YouTube channel. You just change the name of the channel and then you update the logo. So all of the people who subscribe to the channel don't have to try and subscribe to the new one. All of the people who subscribe to the Facebook page don't have to subscribe to the new one. The only thing that I have created new is the new Patreon and the new Discord. And that's because the old Patreon and the old Discord have some quirks about them that you can't change. And I want to clear that out and start fresh. So like the old Patreon, for example, you can't delete a tier once somebody's signed up to it. And we had like a $1 tier, and that's not something that I'm particularly interested in having going forward because it just clutters the whole system up. I wanted to, I think the other one had like 8 different tiers, whereas this I was like, nah, just break it down into 4 very clear, easily distinguishable tiers. So I was like, cool, I have to get rid of the old Patreon. And then the old Discord also has a bunch of quirks where I had created 2 different servers, and one of those servers was for people in a certain tier, and the other one was for people in the higher tier, whereas now I've figured out how to have a single tier and have roles, so when you sign up under certain things, you get a certain role, and then that gives you certain permissions. I'm getting much better at that sort of stuff, so I was like, let's do a fresh start with those. But which does mean that all of the people in the old Discord are going to want to start moving over. Basically, I'm not going to completely ignore those people because they are still part of the Blood for the Blood God community, but they will be encouraged to move over to the new Exalted under a new tier and cancel their existing one. And then as that one sort of starts to die down, people will move across. And then once it's empty, I'll delete that Patreon and delete that Discord and just focus on the new one going forward. We've got STFU Dance. Hey Dean, any tips? I'm playing Death Guard recently against vehicle heavy lists. My mates pretty much only have tanks and dreadnoughts. The main thing that vehicles struggle with, and this is universal, every faction has the same thing, is that they can't move through walls and they can't move over friendly or enemy models. So this can be one thing that you can roadblock them very well. If they're running exclusively vehicles, you can do things like, say there's an L-shaped ruin like this where there's an objective in the middle, you can position yourself further than 1 inch from the wall, behind the wall, so they can't shoot you, and then they can't charge you or anything like that. And then what you do is on the angles where they could, if they drove past that angle, they could shoot in. You just place some, if you're playing Death Guard, you place some like Pox Walkers or something small there. And now they actually can't get in to hit that unit that's like you're on the objective, right? Those sorts of techniques is the best thing that you can do against vehicle heavy armies, is just really mess with their movement. It's a little different if they're like Imperial or Chaos Knights because they can move through walls, so that complicates things and they've also got the Titanic, so they can sort of see over things, and that makes it a little bit more complicated. But generally speaking, the biggest weakness to vehicles is their movement. If you can block that, you can prevent them from getting on objectives, you can prevent them from getting angles on your units, and you can really mess with them. Where are we? We've got Fessart. I meant that a Great World Eaters channel and CSM channel would be awesome for the community. I don't think there's anything close to Disgustingly Resilient podcast. I've not heard of Disgustingly Resilient podcast. I'll look it up so that I get an idea of what you're referring to here. But the World Eaters and CSM channels, like this channel's been doing World Eaters and CSM for a long time. The Red Path do some really fantastic work on World Eaters, so if you want to check them out, yeah, there's some good stuff out there. Question here is, are we getting exclusive competitive Team Exalted jerseys? Yes, is the answer to that. So people who join the Team Exalted tier, basically what's going to happen is I'm going to have a shirt, and this might take a little bit to get off the ground, this Team Exalted exclusive merchandise, because it'll depend on how many people. Like if there's only one person in Team Exalted, it might be hard to justify bringing out an entire range of stuff. But if there's enough people that get involved with Team Exalted, I'll be basically adding those items to the Exalted store that can be purchased exclusively by people with that that tier, that sort of subscription, and that'll be like, you know, they'll look like your standard, like your team shirts, whereas there's going to be these shirts which are like your you know, your supporter, your sort of branded merchandise. But then there's going to be actual team jerseys with your name on the back, you know, that sort of stuff. So yes, that is something that I'm planning to do. Still working out the specifics of how, because most of those have a minimum order quantity of 10 shirts. So it's not something that I can just go, every time somebody signs up, I send them a shirt. So I'm going to work on the specifics of how that works, but absolutely you'll get Team Exalted will be very well supported in terms of merchandise. And that brings us, I believe, to the end of the chat. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over into this Exalted Patreon, and I'm going to jump into, I think it's audience. Let's see. Oh, we've got a lot of people in here. We've got 17. So that means I could use dice, because I could do a D3, roll that, and if I roll, and then a D6, and if I roll a D3 and I roll a 1, then another one, it'll be the next D6 will be out of the next 6 people. If I roll a 2, it'll be between 7 and 13, or 7 and 12, and then if I roll a 3 on the D3, the winner will be between whatever the other one is, between 13 and 18. So that works. Although we've got a couple of people that have signed up as free, which obviously doesn't qualify. I'm surprised that free is even an option. Maybe that's something I needed to turn off. Again, these sorts of things are really complex and really hard to set up. So if I only go with paid members, we've got 13 paid members. So that makes the rolling a little bit harder. What I might do is I'll share my screen here. There's the list of people, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go number randomizer. We're going to go minimum number. Where are we? 13 people. So minimum 1, maximum 13. Let's just test it. Cool, seems to work. Let's make it a spinner. Can we make it a spinner? How do I... Wheel size. 13. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, nice. Let's zoom in on that. Does that work? Alright, cool. So we've got 13 people here. This first one will do for this first box of Terminators. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that spinner and I'm going to give it a big spin and let's see where it lands. Number 11. So now if we go back to the Patreon, our 11th person is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Daniel Charlton. You are the first winner. And of course, I did not prepare myself with a pen to mark that one. So we're just going to remember. Actually, I might just... Yeah, I'm just going to have to remember. I'll mark it on my phone. Haha! Multiple pieces of technology to the rescue. So, let me just open the notepad. Daniel... What was it? It was Daniel... Charlton? $10X Terminators. So congratulations, Daniel. I will. I'll reach out to you. I'll send you a PM, and I'll get your details, so we can find out where to send those Terminators to. Now we've got the next box of Terminators. Spin that wheel again. This time it's going to number 12. So if we go down here, there must be the person directly under Daniel, which is Jesse. So let's mark that on the phone as Jesse. 10X Terminators. And now we're going to spin that again for the next bunch of Terminators. Spinning it around. Number 9. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is to James. Oops, don't do that. James. It's 10X Terminators. And I'll reach out to you guys and I'll post these out first thing on Monday. So that's all of the Terminators have been won. So they're all gone. And now we've got the Exalted show bag. So this one is the big prize. This one's worth a couple $100. And I personally envy the person who wins this because they're going to get all of the prototype dice, which is going to leave me with no dice. But we've got plenty more on the way, so that's really exciting. So let's try and give this a nice big spin. It's very hard to do with a mouse, but let's go. There we go. That's a decent sized spin. 9. So that is James as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So James is going to receive that set as well. So that actually saves me on postage because I can chuck the Terminators in the show bag. And show bag. So congratulations to the winners, particularly James, who cleaned up there. That was very, very lucky. And thank you to everybody for joining that. Is it that one? No. Is it that one? Bingo. Yeah, thank you to everybody for joining the Patreon. It's really, really exciting to see. And hopefully this endeavor we can go on together and enjoy celebrating the game and exalting the game to the next level. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and I hope you guys are as excited as I am for the future, and I will talk to you guys very soon. So thanks again, guys, and I'll see